Hey, okay, so our godmother passed this morning, and anyway, her name was Donna. She was an amazing lady. We're all amazing in our own ways, and sometimes our amazingness is quiet, right? And we don't realize how amazing and the impact we have on our society. And she was one of those quiet, amazing women. Um, she was my brother's best friend's mama, and she was really a mama to everybody in the neighborhood. She was an amazing mama. She wasn't just an amazing mama to her child, but she took us home. And she's a godly woman, and in the neighborhood we grew up in, there wasn't very many of those. Actually, she was the only one I knew um, that was there, and she didn't force that on you. It wasn't like that. It was by example, right? So, and throughout my life, I watched her. Sometimes it was from afar, and I never heard her cuss. Never. I do. Y'all know that. And she never judged. And even whenever people were doing some heavy drugs and on a bad path, and she just kept on loving. She just kept on loving and trying to guide with her own example. She didn't judge us. She didn't try to force anything down our throat. She just loved. She just loved, And with her quiet guidance of an example of how she lived her life, and how she never judged, and she just accepted people and loved them for who they were, Anyway, and that goes back to you never know what kind of impact you're having on people. You never know. People might not tell you how important you are to them and what kind of impact that you had on them. And it really doesn't matter for them to tell you. It just matters that you have an impact. That you be yourself, and you being yourself impacts. It does. It impacts your society, because whatever that is special about you, it spreads out into your society just by you being you, and it's placed in each person that knows you. And you don't have to force your opinion on people. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to do nothing. You just have to be yourself, and that most beautiful part of you will go into others. Because it just does. It just does. And anyway, I'm not saying, okay, just don't, you might see this tear, but it doesn't mean that I'm sad. I try not to grieve, and I know that sounds weird, but, because it's a joyous thing, because it's okay when our earthly angels go back to heaven. It's okay, we try to hold them here, but they're still here. We still have them. They still talk to us, and they can still guide us from afar. But they all have their purpose, and unfortunately not, some earth angels, they don't have easy lives, but they're not supposed to, right? because whenever they don't have easy lives, they still stay that beautiful soul regardless of the shit they're living in. You know, that's even a stronger example that sticks even deeper in those that know that person. You know, it's helpful. It's helpful. And it's okay that not all angels have easy lives because they're not supposed to, right? Because if they just had an easy life, you wouldn't recognize them as an angel. You know, you'd just be like, oh, that's a happy person. Oh, that's a sweet person. She's had it easy her whole life. You know, something like that. But it doesn't have the impact that someone who has went through things and kept their beauty and kept their understanding and kept their values and their core and hasn't altered regardless of the shit they live in, you know. And anyway, she was one of them rare souls, and I'm really thankful for her. And you periodically try to tell somebody, what they were to you. Sometimes you don't always, but you ain't got to. You ain't got to, because they don't have to know. Because just them being them is all they had to do. They don't have to know. They don't have to know how important they were to you, right? Because they just needed to plant that seed, right? That seed just needed to be planted in you, and they don't have to know it. Just like, anyway, it doesn't matter. But that goes back to I'm sorrowful for my god brother. I can't. I don't want to imagine how he feels, right? Because it's hard to lose people, tangibly on this earth. We can never lose anyone. We're eternal beings, and we're gonna be back together, and they can still talk to us. And I know that sounds weird, but I don't care. But they can. It's just in a different way, And we are to, we are supposed to celebrate that transition. That transition of into a new form of without the boundaries and the stipulations. We're confined in this little body. We're confined, and there's so many things that we can't do as a human. And but once we're out of this, we can do whatever, instantly, whatever we want. It's awesome. I do look forward to that awesomeness. But until then, I'm going to be developing myself and trying to do whatever I'm supposed to be doing, which was living. I'm supposed to be living and enjoying, and whatever comes from it, comes from it. And I won't ever know either, whatever impact I have here. And I don't have to, and I don't care, because that's not the point. And the point is just living. And, but anyway, she's an amazing woman. She really was. And she's a good mama. And she took on the neighborhood. And there was a lot of boys in that neighborhood. And they were a handful, especially my brother. Oh, Lord. Okay, he's awesome. You hear when he's related to me, so he's got to be awesome. But, he was a handful. And her son eventually was a handful too. But, anyway, they're awesome. And Miss Donna was awesome. And, she's one of them earth angels that didn't know she was. But I viewed her as that. I did. Sometimes you just see that's what they are. by over time, that's what they show you they are. And that's what she was. She probably didn't know it, but that's what she was. And I don't know where I was going with this, and I rarely ever do. But I don't know. I don't know. But she was an amazing woman, and I was grateful that she was put into our lives. And I'm thankful that she's free of her body, and she's where she wants to be. It's where she wants to be. And she'll still visit, she will when she needs to or is needed. But ain't no telling what she's doing right now. I know she's loving up on her honey, and doing something. I don't know though. I don't know where I was going with this, and this is just I don't know what this is. I wrote her son something pretty, because even those that are closest, they don't see what other people see. They don't know the impact that the people they love have on other people they love. So I tried to write him something pretty to let him know how important she was to me and us, and how amazing she was and is, because that's her core. What she expressed was her core. That was who she was. That was her soul. And she expressed her soul on a constant basis. And that beauty, that patience of I ain't never heard of. and my whole life, and I'm old, the whole time, I never, ever heard her speak a bad word about somebody. Never. I never saw her get mad. And she should have got mad a whole lot. And she never judged, and nowadays and for a long time, we in a society of judgment. People steadily judging people, and they don't even realize they judging people. Just me saying that is a form of judgment. Yes, it is. But that's just the reality, and I'm just speaking. So whatever. But we're not supposed to, right? We're not, because we all flawed. We all are. And we're just here developing ourselves. We're here growing in understanding and eventually patience and and understanding that people don't realize what the hell they're doing. They don't. They don't. And it's best that we not talk shit about each other and look down on each other, because that is not why we're here. We're here to love each other and see that your fucked up piece is a piece of my fucked up piece, right? And your beautiful piece is a piece of my beautiful piece of me and you. We're all here, we're all together, we're all a piece of a one, of the spark of life. We're all a piece of that, and so let's stop talking shit about each other and hope good things for each other, right? And want each other to succeed, right? And have beautiful lives. That's what we're not separate yourself because they live somewhere else, or separate yourself because they're your competitor. There's no such thing as a competitor. That's a false ideal. That's something man has created. We don't need to compete with each other. We're all marvelous, beautiful sparks that have our individualities that are precious. They're precious. And we all bring something to the table. So, y'all stop talking shit about each other. And y'all stop wanting bad for each other. You want everybody, I want everybody to succeed in their goal of the soul, their idea of whatever they want to create here on earth. And when we stop talking shit about each other and stop wanting bad things for each other, man, it's going to be nice. It's going to be so nice. And I know I look chink-eyed, but see the sun. There's the sun. It is a beautiful sun, and it's so nice. But, anyway. So that's my whatever the fuck rant today. I'm sorry. But, Miss Donna, you were amazing. And, Michael, I love you. And, I'm grateful that God put Miss Donna in our lives. Thankful. And I am not the best representation of a godly woman. I'm not. I had some good ones in my life. I'm not as good as that. We've discussed that before. But it's okay. I don't have to be. I don't have to be perfect to be a good example for what a woman should be. And I'm not saying I'm a good example of what a woman should be, but I am for some fucking body. I know that sounds horrible, but I am. Just like you are. Just like you are. Flaws and all. You are a good example of what a woman or a man should be. You are. Somebody, actually multitudes of people, will see that beauty and that strength in you, and they'll place it in themselves, and they will be grateful that you are in their lives. Right? They will. Okay, I'm done with my rant, and I don't know if this was helpful or what. I never do, but I hope you get something out of this.